Hello ladies and gentlemen and TV show lovers of all kind, and welcome back to the channel. As always, I am your host, Brett Murphy, and for today's video it is going to be another Cinema Showdown. And it is going to be Homelander versus Omni-Man. So these are arguably the two biggest Superman knockoffs on the go right now in pop culture. Homelander coming from the extremely popular The Boys comic book series and now Amazon Prime TV series, as well as Omni-Man stemming from the Invincible comic book series, now turned also an Amazon Prime series. Now for the purposes of this video, however, I would like to address that I will primarily be pulling all of my facts, stats, and whatnot from the Amazon Prime original series. And as of the recording of this video, that means that there are 2 seasons of The Boys and 1 of Invincible. Sure, there are a few gaps here and there that I will have to fill in with comic book info, but seeing how this is a channel primarily based on movies, TV, and video games, that is where the vast majority of my information will be coming from. And before we get into the real showdown, I just wanted to let you know that I have an entire playlist dedicated to all of my Cinema Showdowns. So if you're a fan of this series, or if you're new to this series and you enjoy these versus style videos, I highly recommend that playlist, as I guarantee you'll find something you like. And just one last quick little reminder here. If you're not familiar with my character battles on this channel, just keep in mind that there are 2 final rounds. The first one determining who would win in a fight between the 2 characters, and the second one determining who is the better character. And now, with all that being said, let's hop right into things. Round 1. Powers and Abilities. Both of these so-called heroes appear as generic Superman knockoffs at the surface level. But pull back that curtain and what will be revealed are a pair of ruthless, merciless Superman doppelgangers with an ulterior motive. And I'll give you a hint, they are not here to help. But just how many of the Man of Steel's powers does Homelander possess? He has invulnerability, superhuman strength, speed, stamina, hearing, smell, heat vision, telescopic vision, X-ray vision, not to mention flight, as well as some skills that come into play less so on the battlefield, like his natural charisma, leadership skills, and other intimidation tactics that don't include violence, like manipulation and blackmail. Omni-Man, aka Nolan Grayson, is a Viltrumite from Viltrum, which grants him numerous superhuman abilities, including but not limited to superhuman strength, speed, stamina, endurance, as well as flight, interstellar travel capabilities, invulnerability, an enhanced healing factor, and decelerated aging, making him near immortal, considering that he is already thousands of years old by the time that Invincible takes place. It is definitely a close one when it comes down to these powers and abilities because these two are so similar. But because Homelander does have those extra added few that would certainly come in handy in a one-on-one fight, I'm going to have to give round 1 to Homelander. Round 2. Backstory and Motivation. Homelander was raised in a lab, constantly surrounded by doctors who referred to him as John. And Homelander grew up without a true mother figure, and it was remarked that this had made Homelander aggressive, violent, and even downright hateful. Throughout his childhood, Homelander was subjected to countless hours in front of a projector screen, where he would be subjected to images that were chosen to mold his personality, like the American flag, religious imagery, and baseball. He was born, raised, and molded into being Homelander. Some might even say it is his sole reason for existing. Once again, Nolan Grayson, aka Omni-Man, was born a Viltrumite of the Viltrum Empire, an alien race of genetically superior beings with immense superhuman powers and abilities. Their sole mission and purpose in life is to conquer planets and merge them with their Viltrum Empire. But soon enough they realized that they couldn't take over all of the planets by brute force. So they had to develop a new strategy, and that strategy was to infiltrate planets under disguises. And in Nolan's case, he is sent to Earth to pose as the most powerful superhero on the planet, Omni-Man, making them less resistant to takeover when the time arrived. Both of these backstories are incredibly interesting, and I love how diverse and different they are from one another. So this round really does just come down to personal preference. And for me, an alien from another planet, who is sent to Earth under a disguise in order to prepare for a hostile takeover from his alien empire, is far more interesting than a test tube baby wrapped in the American flag. Therefore, I'm going to have to give round 2 to Omni-Man. Round 3. Adversaries and Allies. When it comes to adversaries, well, of course, for Homelander, it comes down to just about anyone who is against the American way. Anyone that the US government would consider a terrorist or any sort of threat. On top of this, you also have any other rogue soups. And then last but certainly not least, you have the titular The Boys. Led by Billy Butcher and including Frenchie, Mother's Milk, Kimiko, and Huey, as well as occasionally Annie January, aka Starlight. A group of badass mofos with a grudge, and on a mission to wipe out all of the soups for all of the vile and disgusting stuff they get away with behind the scenes. As for allies, well, Homelander is the leader of the Seven, the most well-known and powerful group of superheroes on the planet, including various members such as Black Noir, Stormfront, The Deep, A-Train, Queen Maeve, although that seems to have changed, and Translucent before he exploded. Of course, many of those relationships are a bit rocky, but for the purposes of this video, I will say they're his allies. As for Omni-Man, he's a bit of a mixed bag in terms of allies and adversaries when we last saw him at the end of Season 1 of Invincible. So I'm going to go ahead and say that as of the end of Season 1 of Invincible, his only remaining allies would be whatever's left of the Viltrumite Empire. But of course, this may definitely change with the passage of time in this incredibly unpredictable show. And I'm sure those of you who are familiar with the comics will likely correct me, but remember, this is the Amazon original series only that I am focusing on. And as for adversaries, I would say it's just about everyone else. The new Guardians of the Globe, the old Guardians of the Globe, any other superhero team out there, his old friend Cecil, and whatever tricks he has up his sleeve, and then of course his own family. Although Debbie can't really do much to hurt him physically, he most certainly felt something real with her despite his words. And then his own son Mark, aka Invincible, who is half Viltrumite. When it comes to adversaries and allies, there is a lot of gray area where we last saw Omni-Man. But as for Homelander, we definitely know where he stands. And although he does have a rocky relationship with a lot of the other soups out there, including his own team members, there's no denying that this creative, unique, and colorful cast of characters is definitely superior to anything that we have seen in Invincible so far. Therefore, round 3 is going to have to go to Homelander. Round 4. Greatest Feats. Despite Homelander's immense power, he has never really showed it off all that much. He hasn't really been in any major battles that would show off his true powers and abilities. And he has yet to be truly tested by any of his adversaries. Okay, sure, he destroyed that one jet with his heat vision. He's also melted some faces, cracked some skulls, and he has flexed his muscles a little bit to keep the other soups in line when needed. But he's never really wowed us in any of the ways that we would have hoped for. At least so far. However, where we did last leave him at the end of Season 2, on the brink of madness, I have no doubt that he is going to absolutely snap sometime soon, and go full-on berserker mode and show us what he's really made of, and more importantly, what he's capable of doing. Omni-Man, despite having less time to showcase his abilities, has proven time and time again why he is certainly not to be messed with. The shocking ending of the first episode had everybody's jaws on the floor, as Omni-Man quite literally ripped the Guardians of the Globe to shreds in mere moments. Okay, sure, he took quite the beating while he was at it, but he recovered fairly quickly, and these were supposed to be Earth's mightiest heroes. And let's face it, they didn't stand a chance. We go on to later see him wipe out an entire alien planet, and then skip forward again to the final episode, where we see Cecil and all of his connections and resources throw everything they possibly can at him, and he just brushes it off as if it were merely nothing. A giant Death Star-like laser beam from a satellite from outer space, a juiced-up kaiju that Cecil and his team heavily modified, with the sole purpose of killing Omni-Man, multiple of those animalistic man-machine hybrids also enhanced for killing Omni-Man, as well as the recently resurrected and incredibly pissed off Immortal. And then he just goes on to decimate an entire city and his own son Mark, again aka Invincible. I mean, come on, this one was an absolute no-brainer. As much as I love Homelander and am excited to see what he is capable of, he hasn't really shown us much so far. Whereas Omni-Man in only 8 episodes has proven time and time again what a badass he is. Therefore, round 4 is going to have to go to Omni-Man. Final round 1. Who would win in a real fight? Thousands of years old, years of experience, countless planets conquered, and the things that he was able to do in the first season of Invincible alone showcased why Omni-Man would make quick work of Homelander. Despite him having more powers at his disposal, Homelander hasn't really flexed his powers all that much for us yet. He suffers from various mental illnesses which make him unstable and unpredictable, and his inflated ego just makes him far too weak. Omni-Man was born, bred, and raised to be a conqueror. And despite Homelander having more powers, Omni-Man just has far too much experience. So this is another easy one for me. Omni-Man takes the cake without any doubt in my mind. Therefore, the first final round to determine who would win in a real fight is going to go to Omni-Man. Final round 2. Who is the better character? Although I do find that Omni-Man's overall backstory in the history of the Viltrumite Empire to be far more interesting than a test tube baby who was groomed to be a hero, I also find that Omni-Man overall is a less interesting character himself. It's the behind-the-scenes stuff that makes Homelander that much more complex. Even the weirder stuff like the milk and all of his other kinks and whatnot. Again, he definitely suffers from numerous mental illnesses. He's very unstable and unpredictable. It very much so makes him a wild card, but he definitely knows what he wants in life. And his manipulation, blackmail, and torturous mind games make him a far more interesting and dynamic character overall than Nolan. Though I am sure that Nolan will grow and develop as Invincible continues, but as it currently stands, he was just sort of the stoic, often controlling, and occasionally disappointed father figure. He's very smart, and we definitely saw that as he navigated his way around the truth for the majority of the first season. But when it came down to it, he was nearly willing to throw everything away for his duty as a part of the Viltrumite Empire. Again, this final round really does come down to personal preference. For me, Homelander is just far more unpredictable. He's very much so a wild card and a very complex character. There is a ton to dissect there, and you really never know what he's going to do next. Whereas Omni-Man so far does certainly have layers to him, and I'm sure these will further be peeled back and explored as the show continues. But as it currently stands, I'm going to have to give this second final round as to who is the better character to Homelander. So that is all for today's video, folks. Be sure to let me know down in the comments if you agree or disagree with my winner. And feel free to let me know down in the comments below what Cinema Showdown you'd like to see next. If you enjoyed that video, be sure to hit that thumbs up button. And if you'd like to see more content, consider subscribing to my channel and ringing that little bell icon. That way you can be notified about all of my latest uploads. And as always, stay safe. Thank you so much for watching. And that's a wrap. Hey you, yeah you, if you made it this far, just know I appreciate you, and while you're here, consider hitting that subscribe button.